over and over and over. And then you read it again. And then you just rinse and repeat. And we had to do this every week in the language lab at Princeton. See, I think it's one of the few reasons that the students uniformly had the best pronunciation when we went to China. Because pronunciation is not a nice to have thing. It depends on the language. Like you mess up, if you're Bloomberg and you massacre Spanish and you're like, El Storm is coming to New York, It's like you can kind of get away from it, or get away with it, you know what I mean? It's like, El truck coming, like people will let you get away with it in Spanish. In Chinese, if you mess up your tones, forget it. Like, ma is like mother, ma is marijuana, ma is to scold, ma is second tone is marijuana, ma is horse, ma is to scold. So it's like, you mess that up, you could really get punched in the face, or just not understood at all. So having a set text, and then reading it, recording it, providing it to someone, and then having them review it and circle the items that you have trouble with is by far, in my experience, the best approach. And you might think like, oh, we'll do it in real time. No, don't do it in real time. Because 9 times out of 10 people will be too polite to interrupt you, or they'll wait until the end and they'll only remember one thing you said wrong. So I actually like the asynchronous approach more than the real time. Real time is helpful if you have like 2 or 3 things that are really hard. Like second tone in Chinese is hard for a lot of people to hit. Then you need a super militant teacher. And it's not always the case that a native speaker is the best teacher. This is something that's really important. So like in the 4-Hour Chef, I talk about being the best versus becoming the best, right? Like, do you want to learn from Michael Phelps, or do you want to learn to swim from someone like Shinji Takeuchi, who didn't know how to swim until like 30-something, and then now is the second most viewed swimming technique video on YouTube? Maybe the second, because he's going through exactly what you are going through, or he has been through what you're going through, right? So the head instructor for Chinese 101 was white dude, non-Chinese, Perry Link. And his Chinese was so good that it made native speakers like, wow, oh man, like this is embarrassing. But he had absolutely no mercy for people who were learning the language. He's like, I've been through it. Don't expect any sympathy from me. And so I just remember once, this is just a quick story. So Chinese 101, we had like 8 classes a week. It was just brutal. And we started off with like 60 bright-eyed, bushy-tailed students who were like, I want to learn Chinese. And like within a week and a half, it was down to like 12 students. And I remember one class, huge snowstorm, everyone had canceled classes except for Chinese 101. So like trudging through the snow to class, 8 a.m. or whatever, and we get in there, and one girl was really sick, just like a strep throat or something. She was like, rah! And so the routine was come in and be like, okay, shi, which is a really hard sound, like yi, like all that like yi type stuff, or like na shi什么事情, like a retroflex is really hard for native English speakers. And so we did some sound. And he's like, she, and he's like, okay, 再来, and everybody's like, she, and she was like, she, and he was like, one more time, in Chinese. Spoke the entire time pretty much in Chinese. And she's like, she, and he's like, whatever her name was, Fei Yucheng, you again, and she was just like, she, and he's like brutal, just like, he was like the drill sergeant in Full Metal Jacket, but for Chinese, and, but at the end of the day, they were all good. Anyway, long answer to a short question, but the pronunciation is super, super critical.
Yeah.
Well, this is so cool to talk about this, and if people want more information about this and kind of extending further about what you're talking about here with the languages, is your book, your upcoming book, 4-Hour Chef.
Yeah, the 4-Hour Chef is, I know, so chef, this is actually a good time. So chef, I talk about what I mean by chef. And I'm not just talking about cook versus chef, like someone who can make dishes versus run a kitchen or whatever it is. So chef, I'm talking about in the sense of like jefe, like boss or head from Latin, like being self-reliant, so you're a director in your own life instead of a spectator. And part of that is becoming a world-class learner. So if people want extended information about language learning, and it's a choose your own adventure book, so you don't have to get into it. If you want to skip around, fine. But I cover exactly how I tackled all of these different languages and the recipe that you use in the 4-Hour Chef.